tonight on First at 9 this Tuesday, the 1st of April 2025. New tax scheme. The revised payee tax scale takes effect today. Meanwhile, delayed Parate execution also resumes. A helping hand. Sri Lanka to send a medical team to Myanmar to aid earthquake-affected communities. Challenging rejections. Appeals court suspends LG poll activities of local authorities where nomination rejections have been challenged in court. Further remanded. MP Chamara Sampath and former State Minister S. Vyalendran to remain in custody until the 8th of April per Colombo Magistrate's order.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama, Kiren Perata. Obe Vishwasi Dinu Sensorain, then Lagamati Pharmacy Labagata Hacker.
Kanta Parisan Karagathot?
Ape Parisan.
ඉතින් මොකටද නිකන් නාගන්නේ? ස්වදේශී කොහොඹ ලෙමන් ග්‍රාස් අද කාලෙට ෆ්‍රෙෂ්ම විසඳුම.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9, brought to you by the nation's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Now, in our top story this evening, Sri Lanka's revised payee tax scale is effective from today. Accordingly, the tax-free monthly salary threshold has been increased from 100,000 to 150,000 rupees and relief has been granted to several tax brackets. Meanwhile, several other tax amendments are also taking effect today in addition to the resumption of Parate executions. Sri Lanka's revised payee tax scale is being implemented with effect from today. Accordingly, the tax-free monthly salary threshold, which was 100,000 rupees, has now been increased to 150,000 rupees. Previously, a person earning a 150,000 rupee salary had to pay 3,500 rupees in payee tax, but now they will be exempt from the tax. Those earning a 200,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 10,500 rupees, but they now only have to pay 3,000 rupees. Individuals earning a 250,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 21,000 rupees, but they now only have to pay 8,000 rupees. Those earning a 300,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 35,000 rupees, but they now only have to pay 18,500 rupees. Individuals earning a 400,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 70,500 rupees, but they now only have to pay 52,500 rupees. Those earning a 500,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 106,500 rupees, but they now only have to pay 88,500 rupees. Individuals earning an 800,000 rupee salary previously had to pay 214,500 rupees, but now they only have to pay 196,500. Those earning a 1 million rupee salary previously had to pay 286,500 rupees in payee tax, but they now only have to pay 268,500 rupees. Meanwhile, the 10% advance income tax on interests or discounts for deposits is also effective from today. However, the Inland Revenue Department announces that individuals earning less than 1.8 million rupees annually can claim relief on the advance income tax by submitting a self-declaration detailing their total income. In the meantime, the up to 15% tax on income from services provided to foreign countries is also effective from today. Similarly, stamp duty on lease and rental agreements has also been revised. Previously, 10 rupees were levied per 1,000 rupees or part thereof, but the fee has been doubled to 20 rupees from today. Meanwhile, Parate executions, which allow licensed commercial banks to auction mortgaged properties to recover loans in the event of default, resume today following the expiration of the moratorium. However, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa raised concern regarding the resumption of Parate executions.
දැන් අද දවසේ ඉඳලා ආපහු පරාටේ නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නට බැංකු පද්ධතියට බලය ලැබෙනවා.
What we request was a moratorium on Parate executions, restructuring of loans subject to it, relief on interest, write-offs on principles to provide a sustainable solution for entrepreneurs and industrialists. However, the government is only giving false hope to micro, small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. This will only end with their hard-earned property being auctioned through Parate execution.
In the meantime, the Department of Motor Traffic announced that from the 15th of this month, the tax identification number will be mandatory for the registration or transfer of all motor vehicles except motorcycles, tractors and three-wheelers. The TIN can be obtained by registering with the Inland Revenue Department, and it must be submitted to the Department of Motor Traffic with an affidavit.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance. චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙන් මනාපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, the Lanka IOC and Chinese Petroleum Corporation Sinopec announced their revised fuel prices for April effective from midnight yesterday. Accordingly, only the prices of 92-octane petrol and 95-octane petrol were reduced this month. Meanwhile, Minister of Science and Technology Professor Krishanta Besena claimed that fuel prices were revised in line with the recommendations of the International Monetary Fund and that they cannot be reduced further. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation revised its fuel prices for the month of April with effect from midnight last night. However, only the prices of 92-octane petrol and 95-octane petrol were reduced following this month's fuel price revision. Accordingly, the price of a litre of 92-octane petrol was reduced by 10 rupees, bringing it down to 299 rupees per litre. Similarly, the price of a litre of 95-octane petrol was also reduced by 10 rupees to 361 rupees. Meanwhile, the prices of auto diesel, super diesel and kerosene remain unchanged at 286, 331 and 183 rupees respectively. Meanwhile, the Lanka Indian Oil Corporation and Chinese Petroleum Corporation Sinopec also announced their revised fuel prices in line with the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation's price revision. Against this backdrop, three-wheeler drivers and bus owners associations commented on the latest fuel price revision.
Passengers expect the three-wheel fares to be reduced in line with fuel prices. Petrol has only been reduced by 10 rupees per litre. Therefore, reducing fares by 50 cents or a rupee is not practical.
රුපියල් 10 නිකන් හිඟන ගණන් වලින් නෙමෙයි අඩුම ගානේ රුපියල් 50ක් 60ක් 70ක් අඩු කරලා දෙන්න.
ඩීසල් මිල හැලකිය යුතු ප්‍රමාණයෙන් අඩු කරා.
If diesel prices were reduced considerably, we could have passed on that benefit to the public. However, only the prices of petrol were reduced. The annual bus fare revision is scheduled for early June. Bus fares will see a significant increase in July despite potential fuel price reductions.
හැලකිය යුතු ප්‍රමාණයකින් වැඩි වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, school transport services associations raised concern that in the wake of this month's fuel price revision, their industry is in jeopardy as the prices of diesel continue to remain unchanged.
We expected that the government would reduce diesel prices through this month's fuel price revision. We are helpless. In light of challenges like this, it is impossible for us to continue this industry. We will withdraw our services in due course.
Meanwhile, speaking on the recent fuel price revision, Minister of Science and Technology Professor Krishanta Besena noted that fuel prices were revised in line with the recommendations of the International Monetary Fund.
We
are unable to reduce the fuel prices any further. On one hand, we are required to adhere to the recommendations of the IMF. We have to consider and balance the country's revenues and expenditures. This government reduced fuel prices on multiple occasions after taking office.
The Court of Appeal today issued an order preventing the continuation of local government election-related activities for local authorities where petitions have been filed challenging the rejection of nominations. The order will remain in effect until tomorrow.
Nearly 30 petitions were filed by parties including the United People's Freedom Alliance, Sarva Jana Balaya and independent groups contesting the rejection of nominations for various local government institutions including the Colombo Municipal Council. The petitions were heard today before a Court of Appeal bench comprising Acting President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Mohammad Lafat Tahir and Justice K.P. Fernando. President's Counsel Ali Sabri, representing Sarva Jana Balaya, countered the Attorney General's objection that the Court of Appeal does not have jurisdictions to consider these petitions, claiming it was baseless. He emphasized that the recent amendments to the local government electoral system aims to increase youth participation, not to deny them opportunities by rejecting over 400 nominations. He further noted that some nominations were rejected for minor technical reasons, such as submitting originals instead of certified copies of documents, and urged the court to ensure a fair election process. After considering the arguments, the Court of Appeal scheduled further consideration of the petitions for tomorrow and ordered returning officers to suspend all election-related activities of the relevant local government institutions until then. Meanwhile, in a separate development, the Supreme Court ordered that writ petitions filed by political parties and independent groups against rejection of nominations to be taken on the 3rd of April for further consideration. A total of 37 writ petitions were reviewed today by a bench comprising Justices Esturai Raja, Mahinda Samayawardana and Sampath Abekon. The counsellors for the petitioners stated that the nominations were rejected due to deficiencies in candidates' birth certificates and improperly completed affidavits. Following deliberations, the Supreme Court adjourned further hearings on these petitions until the 3rd of April.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයිබටසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම්වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
කැලනි වයර් කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. කැලනි ෆයර් ෂීල්ඩ් වයර්.
Leader of Sarvajana Balaya, MP Dilith Jayavira, says his party is not merely another political party, but the beginning of a true renaissance and revolution for the grassroots of Sri Lanka. He made this remark at a local government election campaign event of the Sarvajana Balaya in Ratnapura.
The Ratnapura district edition of the island-wide series of awareness program organised for local government candidates of the Sarvajana Balaya was held today under the patronage of party leader parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira. Take a moment to think if the president is implementing any measures to motivate the people of the country. Is he taking any steps to inculcate a positive mindset within the people? What does the government say? If you speak too much, you will be jailed. The president has already made the lives of the poor difficult. The only thing left to do is to drag them into the darkness. 3.4 trillion rupees worth of taxes are due to be imposed. The impoverished people of the country will end up losing everything. We do not like to mention these on a political stage, but the reality has to be mentioned. That is why as Sarvajana Balaya we are capable of speaking with pride and no shame. This is not just another political party, but the beginning of a true renaissance and a true revolution that will affect the grassroots of society.
And with that, here's a look at more thoughts shared in the political arena today.
People have entrusted power to UNRWA and the NPP. Now it's our responsibility to strengthen the power at the grassroots. The present government is in power for 5 years, so we can't do anything miraculously all at once. If we did so, all members of previous corrupt regimes would now be imprisoned. There's a law and order in our country. We follow that to punish the thieves. Investigations are being done on Easter Sunday attacks. Yes, that should be done. But we have a concern. If the children of a nationalist candidate of the ruling party were involved in the attacks, that should be revealed. Only thieves know the magnitude of their activities. When they sense they would be suspected, they have much to say in parliament. Then they spread rumours that the law is being imposed on those who speak in the most in parliament. The thieves will be apprehended just like how the economy is developing. If we have the power of the presidency, parliament and local authorities, our initiatives can be carried out easily. Prominent characters that supported the NPP are now openly admitting that this was not what they expected from them and that their trust in the NPP is being breached. We know their opinion because they are public figures. The people of rural areas must hold similar opinions, and we will get to know that on the morning of the 7th of May after the elections. I don't think the UNP can win the elections because the people still view the present government in a positive light. We too view them in a positive light. They should definitely be granted the power of local authorities. Otherwise, they will defend themselves saying they were unsuccessful because they didn't have power at the grassroots. We should all unite and give them the power of every local authority.
Parliamentarian Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, who is accused of financial misconduct, was ordered to be remanded until the 8th of April today by the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. Meanwhile, former State Minister S. Vyalendran, who is facing charges of aiding and abetting bribery, was also further remanded until the 8th of April by the same court.
New Democratic Front MP Chamara Sampath Dasanayake was arrested by the Commission to investigate allegation of bribery and corruption on the 27th of March over 3 separate cases of financial misconduct. He secured bail in relation to 2 cases but was denied bail in relation to the 3rd case, in which he had withdrawn 6 fixed deposits belonging to the Uva Provincial Council at a state bank prematurely, causing a 1.73 million rupee loss to the council. When the legal matter was taken up before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today, the Bribery Commission requested additional time to record statements from key witnesses, including the former Chief Secretary of the Uva Provincial Council. Due to insufficient time to complete the investigation since MP Sampath's arrest, officials requested the court to further place him under remand custody. President's counsel Kalinge Indatissa, who represented the accused MP, argued that the withdrawals were executed by the Chief Secretary, not the MP, and were used for employees' festive advances. He further stated that allegations of political influence by his client must be substantiated with evidence, emphasizing that his client had not influenced any witness, nor had any complaints been filed against him in this regard. Additionally, he argued that requesting the suspect be further remanded based on assumptions of potential witness intimidation without sufficient evidence was contrary to the provisions of the Bail Act. He accused the Commission of concealing key facts and emphasized that remanding the MP based on speculation violated the Bail Act. However, a Bribery Commission officer stated that the main witness, the manager of Badulla National Savings Bank, had faced disciplinary action due to the MP's alleged interference. The investigation also revealed that the withdrawals were initiated following a letter from the suspect to the Provincial Council. The Colombo Chief Magistrate ordered the Bribery Commission to record all witness testimonies within a week and further remanded Dasanayake until April 8. The court also directed officials to report the progress of the investigation on the same day. Separately, the Criminal Investigation Department informed the court that Dasanayake would be presented before the Badulla Magistrates Court on May 19 under the Public Property Act. The concerns allegations that as Uva Province Chief Minister in 2016, he obtained a 1 million rupee sponsorship from the Bank of Ceylon for distributing school bags, which was allegedly misappropriated. In a separate development, the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court ordered former State Minister S. Vyalendran, who is accused of aiding and abetting bribery, to also be further remanded until April 8. Bribery Commission officials stated that investigations into his alleged involvement in bribery had not yet concluded.
The President's Fund is to provide financial assistance to children of families affected by wild elephant attacks starting today. The initiative aims to ensure that such children continue their education. The President's office said today that when selecting beneficiaries, priority will be given to families whose members have been killed or injured from wild elephant attacks. However, children of families that have suffered property damage and crop damages caused by wild elephants are also eligible to apply. In order to be selected for the program, the family should be considered suitable by the Divisional Secretary, and having children receiving education from grade 1 up to the GCE ordinary level or advanced level examinations will also be considered a qualification. The families applying should have been affected by wild elephants on or after the 1st of January this year, and not being a beneficiary of the President's Fund's scholarship program for GCE advanced level examination applicants will also be considered a qualification. If selected as beneficiaries, children receiving education from grades 1 to 11 are to receive a 3,000 rupee monthly allowance for a year, while children in grades 12 and 13 are to receive a 5,000 rupee monthly allowance for a year with effect from today. Accordingly, all divisional secretaries are advised to submit the applications of the applicants in their respective divisions who meet the qualifications with their recommendation to the Secretary to the President's Fund as soon as possible. The search for missing people buried under rubble after a devastating earthquake collapsed buildings in Myanmar and Thailand continued for the 4th consecutive day today. Latest estimates place the death toll from the tragedy at over 2,700. Meanwhile, a Sri Lankan Minister of Health Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa stated that preparations have been made to dispatch a medical team from Sri Lanka to Myanmar to provide relief to the people affected by the earthquake. Following the strongest quake to hit Myanmar in more than a century, an urgent need has arisen for shelter, food and water. The earthquake killed more than 2,700 people while injuring 4,521 and 441 are still missing. In neighbouring Thailand, the national death toll from the quake stands at 20 while over 70 people are still missing. Meanwhile, in Sri Lanka, several Buddhist organisations held events to support and show solidarity with those affected by the quake. Accordingly, a series of meritorious services organised by the Hipankanda Vidya Samaja Jatika Sangha Sabha in Uragasmanghandiya, Karandiniya was held yesterday with the participation of a delegation of Thai monks and monastics offering blessings for the victims of the earthquake. Meanwhile, the Samasta Lanka Sasana Rakshaka Mandalaya has decided to organise an island-wide Pindapatha journey on the 11th of April to raise funds to provide aid to Myanmar. In the meantime, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa today visited the Embassy of Myanmar and the Royal Thai Embassy in Colombo and met with the ambassadors, expressing his condolences over the disaster and promising to provide maximum support. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs said in a statement that the Sri Lankan government is making necessary arrangements to promptly deliver essential items including dry rations to Myanmar and Thailand. Minister of Health Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa meanwhile said that preparations have been made to dispatch a medical team from Sri Lanka to Myanmar to provide relief to the people affected by the earthquake.
Government is making preparations to send necessary medicines and other medical supplies. Preparations have been made to dispatch an expert medical team from Sri Lanka with medical equipments and medicine. They require medical assistance at this time. We have arranged an expert team of doctors and nurses, including consultants who are experienced in this type of operation, to be dispatched. Upon approval from the Embassy of Myanmar, we are ready to take the final steps.
Now, although the recent earthquakes have not directly impacted Sri Lanka as yet, the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau urges authorities and the public to remain vigilant regarding seismic activity in the region. This comes after India's New Delhi experienced a magnitude 4 earthquake last month. According to the Bureau, if a major earthquake occurs near the island of Sumatra, Sri Lanka could face tsunami-like effects. Officials assured that global earthquake activity is being closely monitored and necessary measures are in place to respond to any seismic events within Sri Lanka. However, they also emphasized the importance of preparedness in case of future tremors or tsunami threats. Welcome back. Now, in business news today, the Federation of Renewable Energy Developers emphasized the significance of viable and operable tariffs in order to reach government's policy target of generating 70% of electricity from renewable energy sources by 2030. Speaking at a press conference today, the Federation reiterated that feed-in tariffs should be set by an independent body such as the Public Utilities Commission and with public consultation.
Renewable sector in Sri Lanka with the rooftop has 2051 megawatts in operation as of now. We have a set target for 2030 where we are talking about 70% of renewables. To reach 70% of renewables by 2030, we have to do at least 19,800 gigawatt hours. Whereas as of now, we are doing 9,850 gigawatt hours. In 5 years' time, we have to increase by 101% our renewable portfolio, which is, if you take in terms of plants, we have to look at least 500 megawatts being added every year from this year onwards to the grid in order to achieve the 70% target. I believe it's a policy of the government and we as developers are ready to support this, but we need a viable, operable tariff to continue.
Sri Lankan government has also signed agreement with Japan for trading of carbon called JCM agreement. Now at the top level they signed that, but at CB level it's all blocked. While they are reducing the tariff, the new PPA clauses makes it even very disincentive to be in the industry. Objective is this message goes to the public so that we can again bring back reasonably attractive PPAs and tariffs which can again make it attractive for this industry to continue. Sri Lanka historically always has a rupee depreciation and there's a possibility there will be rupee depreciation in the future, especially with the debt repayment starting in 2027. So when the rupee depreciated, then the tariff or the generation like the coal, thermal metal which is tied to the foreign exchange will become more and more expensive. But these will remain constant over the whole 20 years at a rupee tariff. So then the public and the government stands to benefit. So these are positive things which I don't think are adequately considered when setting the tariff and developing the industry. I think the feed-in tariff also should be done by an independent body like the PCSL, who's a regulator, and with public consultation.
The Colombo Stock Exchange closed in green today as a result of price gains in food, beverage and tobacco, capital goods and banking counters. The all share price index closed 0.76% higher at 15,934.38 points, while the S&P SL20 increased by 0.62% to close at 4,763.86 points. Market turnover was 1.9 billion rupees. The highest contributors to turnover were Melster Corp, Haleys and Hatton National Bank. The banking sector was the top contributor to market turnover, followed by the capital goods sector as the second highest contributor. Foreign investors closed as net sellers, offloading shares worth 164 million rupees. Meanwhile, domestic investors closed as net buyers, purchasing shares worth 1.8 billion rupees. And up next is Dinel Samaratunga from Capital Alliance with a few thoughts to round off our Markets in View segment for the week.
The domestic stock market declined over the past week, with the S&P SL20 dropping 0.67% from 4,767 to 4,735, and the ASPI slipping 0.4% from 15,879 to 15,815. Market turnover rose by 6.21% to 10.4 billion rupees. Meanwhile, government secured 73.4 billion rupees through treasury bill auctions, with interest rates remaining steady across 3, 6 and 12-month bills.
And with that, here's a look at the rupee exchange rates for the day. And that's all for tonight on First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.